If you make $1 billion a year, you can buy an island with an underwater mansion, private jets made out of gold, and even run your own country. Some billionaires even own land on other planets. But at $100 million a year, you could buy an entire castle, a super yacht that could stop missiles, or drop a bag on 200 classic cars, just because you can. But even if you can't afford your own dealership, all of these lifestyles allow you to do things you've never even imagined. Unless, of course, you're stretching $1 a year. Because then you're just straight up homeless. You're basically living on a 100% air diet and living on the streets. Best case scenario, you'd end up like Lieutenant Dan, who went viral on TikTok for being homeless and driving on his boat through not one but 2 hurricanes. Surprised the boat didn't sink from his balls of steel. If you're homeless in the US, you'd probably live in an REI tent, but that's millionaire status compared to being homeless in Africa. Because in the poorest areas, your tent is a blanket and 2 sticks, and you're literally not eating at all. Even living in an African tribe would be better. At least they got people giving them vapes for free. The best you get in the US is coffee and a donut. But when you hit 10K, you can actually work for your own food. But even then, you can't be getting $15 coffee all the time. At this level, you're most likely a teenager who lives at home. If not, the lowest minimum wage job you get is typically $13K annually. So you're below the poverty line and basically being kept alive by the government. You're pretty much Alex from Target, who literally got on Ellen because he was hot, I guess. Then went right back to working at Target. And if you don't get your Alex from Target moment, you're probably eating at a food bank, drinking at a park, and living in a homeless shelter. But if you made 10K in China or South Africa, you'd already be middle class. You could afford rent for a suburban apartment, food, clothes, pretty much anything, and easily have money left over for stuff like seeing movies, sports, and going out. Even buying a phone would be equivalent to a 5-year-old buying a 1080 gaming monitor. At least you'll probably never develop a dopamine addiction to Instagram though. But at 50K, you've unlocked the ability to start brain rotting on social media, because now you're officially an average Joe. If you're making 50K a year, you might be getting paid to be screamed at in customer service, a restaurant manager with employees who never listen to you, or a mover who survives on tips. But at least those tips can get you food now, because grocery stores aren't off limits anymore. You can even go out for dinner to pick up 500 packs of instant ramen and hot dogs. You can't really buy anything aside from microwavable dinners, because you'd be tapping into your emergency fund just for chicken parmesan. And if you want to take the edge off, you'll have to save up for a bottle of wine or a bag of edibles, because you don't have the freedom to enjoy your life at this stage. You're living just enough to be living paycheck to every other paycheck. The soles of your shoes are basically falling apart at this point, and you get clothes from a thrift store or go really crazy with the bag at Ross. But since you've saved so much on food and clothes, now you can buy your dream car, a 2010 Volkswagen Tiguan. It's not much, but it gets the job done. The cost of living in America is just so high that you literally can't afford anything new. In South Africa though, you could buy a 2020 BMW and still have half of your income left over. That Tiguan's not sounding so dope anymore, but at least you could drive from work to your brand new house, which is actually an apartment in Kansas, in the middle of nowhere, because all the nice states are way too expensive. But if you want to live in California, it's not that bad. Some celebs even have tiny apartments in LA. Rebecca Black made the worst song of all time and still lives there after the label dumped her. But if you want to fall asleep to rain instead of gunshots, you'd have to move to the Midwest. Luckily, traveling is now an option. You won't be in business class with the Nelk Boys, and the exit row is only open if you sprint for it. But at least you could take a flight every 4 months. And if you want to take a road trip instead, your car isn't the public bus anymore, so well done. But on 100K a year, your car could be a plane, because now you can afford to travel on planes. So why go to a different state when you can go to a different country? You won't be staying at the Ritz Paris. But if you're careful with your money, you could be traveling to Europe for 2 weeks every year. Gotta feel like Taylor Swift with how much you're traveling, because the job you're working now actually pays you to take a vacation. And since you're probably something like a regional store manager, engineer, or low-level finance bro, you're getting benefits from your job now. At 50K, you might have had awful insurance, but now it comes as a bonus with your paycheck. You probably feel like you're making the big bucks now. Making 100K a year is like being discount rich. You're in the top 20% of earners, and still doing exactly okay. Some people are cool with that though. Ken Bone was just a normal power plant worker with a wife and 2 cats, until he blew up for his fit at the presidential debate. But he didn't want the fame and went right back to making 100 G's a year. Because when you got 2 cats, a wife, and a job at a power plant, what else do you even need? An actual family. Assuming your partner makes close to what you make, you could safely start a family now. That doesn't mean you couldn't have 50K a year, but you got room temperature IQ if you're having 5 kids in this economy. But now you can find a place literally anywhere. You could rent a New Girl type loft in LA, an apartment with a gym, pool, and grill, or even buy a house. The house would have to be somewhere cheap, and it might look like something out of Breaking Bad. but it's better than living like the 10K a year guy. But in some countries, 100K will get you far. Remember how we said Africa's poor? Well, that's kind of true because their poverty line is like $2 per day. But if you go to a place like Lagos with 100 grand, you could get a luxury penthouse on a private lagoon. And in China, you could get a straight up villa. China does come with communism though, so maybe stay in the US. And now that you have a house, you need a way to get to your sales job, but you have 100 grand to burn through. So sell that Volkswagen and get the ultimate finance bro car, BMW. Now you're driving the same car as Gigi Hadid and Charlie Sheen. I don't know how much of a flex that is though. Banging 7-gram rocks really isn't a good way to stay healthy, but luckily you can now afford real food. Your groceries are gonna have fruits you can't pronounce and maybe even a $30 wine bottle. And even better, you can eat out every 3 months at boozy ass spots. Name some shit like Boa. But if someone like Cardi B pulls up to your restaurant, don't get too excited. She has no idea who you are. Because the thing about 100K is that you only think you're rich. When it comes down to it, you may be able to cover taxes, insurance, food, and drop 20% tips occasionally. But you're basically still living paycheck to paycheck, just with bigger checks. Just because you can afford the same Nikes as Drake doesn't put you on his level. But at 500K, at least people treat you the same as Drake, because they're gonna fucking hate you. You're in the 1% now, so you're probably an executive at a major.com, a lawyer, a doctor, or you got your Alex from Target moment and ran with it. I mean, the Island Boys made one dumbass song and went from occasional prison time to 500 grand a year. And with your big boy job, you're finally living in a mansion, but only in cities like Phoenix or Austin. Still, you easily got a fire pit, jacuzzi tub, a game room, and even a pool and a hot tub. But in Mexico, you get a place with a pool outside your room and a pool on the roof. In Italy, you get a full-ass vineyard, and in Thailand, you basically get a straight-up resort. I mean, this has to be one of the biggest bedrooms I've ever seen. If you like living in the city, it's no problem, because you could definitely buy a luxury apartment, and those luxury apartments high-key go crazy. Joe Santiago got a full-ass arcade machine in his 3-story apartment, and Steve Leduit's got a legit aquarium in his penthouse. It's at least 20K a month, but high-key worth it. And at 500K, you got bags to spend. Even Teslas start to look cheap, because you could get a Porsche 911 like LeBron, or do a street race with Conor McGregor, in matching Lamborghini Huracans. But you're not rich enough to do the penthouse and Lambo. Insurance for that shit is like 10K a month, and you need that extra 200K for Rolexes, diamond chains, and sneaker collections bigger than Dana White's. Because designer shoes and clothes aren't just a fantasy anymore. You're dripped out in Dior and Prada every day. If you were smart, you'd drop that 200K into stocks. But you can't afford impulse buys now. So why not drop 100 grand for 2 albino king cobras like Nicolas Cage? Or 10K for a flamethrower like David Dobrik? You're at the point where you can afford anything you need. The downside of being rich is that everyone's always asking you for money or to give it to charity, but you do your part by rounding up 8 cents for cancer at the local Erewhon. And you only shop at Erewhon, because where else can you get Hailey Bieber's strawberry glazed skin smoothie? Yeah, if you're buying that, you're definitely a rich asshole. But everything in your life got an upgrade at 500K. You don't even go to Erewhon that much anyways, because you eat out for almost every meal. And even though you're still not getting recognized, you're dining at the biggest celebrity hotspots in the city. But at $1 million a year, you might be one of the celebrities. Kinda. I mean, these days, anyone can get famous. Even the Miles Morales NPC dude makes $1 million per year. But if you're living on $1 million a year, you're living life on easy mode. You have a stable job like a stockbroker, lawyer, or neurosurgeon. Like being a singer, DJ, or actor. And if you are in the entertainment industry, you gotta ball out like you're already Tom Cruise. Even if people don't know who you are, you can at least flex on the actual nobodies. With an Audi R8, or straight up run over their cars in your G-Wagon Mansory. This thing looks like a goddamn tank. You could even buy a Bugatti's front bumper. Yeah, you're not quite there yet. But if you want to go 200 miles per hour that badly, you could buy Tom Brady's Aston Martin for a cheap $350,000. Just make sure to check the tire's air pressure. And now you can park that car in your 4-car garage. Because the cribs you could buy now are more like compounds. You could even buy Shaq's place for 1.5 mil now. That's a straight up steal. As an official millionaire though, you gotta customize your place. In Cali, you can control your entire house through an AI system. In Texas, you can get an apartment with a floating pool. And in the Midwest, you can get a mansion with a private elevator, a bowling alley, or even a pool with fountains over it. But you gotta flex the bag a little more than that. So you get a fire pit inside your pool. Why? Because why the fuck not? Overseas though, it gets insane. In Thailand, you get an apartment with an infinity pool, gym, golf simulator. In Spain, you get a pool that's bigger than the villa. And in Croatia, you just get a literal palace. But at $1 million, you could get a place anywhere, and then rent a small apartment in Aspen for skiing, or even a place in Italy for the summer. Just somewhere to flex for half the year. And when you fly there, you're either flying business or private. no way you can afford a private jet right now. But you can rent one for the weekend. Yeah, you can actually do that. But to have that rich social life, you gotta be stunting 24/7. You don't buy Rolexes because that's for the fake rich. Instead, you get Richard Milles or Patek Philippe's. Shit you've never even heard of before. You don't get basic Louis Vuitton bags. You drop bags on your Celine bag. You only wear designer brands and maybe even a suit to work every other day, so people know you're hot shit. And when you get off work, you're working out at Equinox for a cheap $4,000 a year, then going straight to the spa, because you have to look and feel your best at all times. You even have a favorite masseuse that always schedules you in for a quick rubdown. Unfortunately, you're not rich enough to get a happy ending with every massage, like Robert Kraft, but you are rich enough to never get rejected again. Even if you're mid at best, when you got bottle service at a club, all the baddies just flock to you. They might be OnlyFans models, but it's better than having a spit game in your mid-30s. But if you're making $10 million a year, you're going for supermodels, not some wannabe porn star. At $10 million a year, you're living in stupid luxury. By this point, you're definitely in a business as a CEO or pro athlete, big name rapper, singer, or something else in the entertainment business. You're finally at the point where it'd be damn near impossible to fuck your life up. Unless you burn through like 40 mil like T-Pain and end up streaming COD for your paycheck. But if you actually know how to handle your money, you'll never have to worry about it, and your bills are non-existent. You're not even that concerned with getting a paycheck, because most of your money is in an asset or stock form. The only really hard part of your life is taking care of your image, and that shouldn't be too hard to do, right? Well, as long as you're not into the same type of people Drake is, you're good. And you can always just leave the country anyways, because with $10 million a year, you can afford to charter the best private jets, but you still can't afford your own, so you might have to fly commercial every once in a while. But when you do, you get 5-star treatment. You basically get your own cabin with a bed, full screen TV, desk, and bathroom. You can even FaceTime flight attendants for your drinks and meals instead of pressing a call button. And your seat can go into zero gravity mode, so you feel like you're floating in the sky. It's all pretty extra, but not nearly as extra as the places you can afford to stay at, because you can take vacations anywhere in the world and stay in the craziest hotels I've ever seen. This Royal Bridge Suite in Dubai has a gold-plated bathroom. This hotel in the Maldives is literally underwater, and this place in Sweden is dead as fully made of ice. They got heaters inside apparently, but your jet pilot's probably gonna have to get real cozy in the snow. And now that you got someone flying for you, you could also get someone to drive, cook, clean, and shop for you. Some people pay for even wilder services though. Kim K always has her hairstyles with her for emergencies, and Mariah Carey even pays someone to hold her drinks for her. That's gotta be one of the most annoying jobs of all time. But with $10 million a year, you shouldn't have to experience things like a bad hair day, or hurting your wrist from holding a cup. You've worked hard for this. So you prove how hard you work by buying an insane crib, because you don't even need to worry about rent anymore. You can basically get a house anywhere in the world now, except Pacific Palisades. And you could just drop bags on shit no one would even think of. Like you could have a full-ass lagoon in the backyard like Mark Wahlberg, a trampoline room like Steve Aoki, or even a private helipad, because a chopper is only $500,000 now. But if you want the royal treatment, you gotta go to Europe. In France, you get a chateau with a wine cellar, and some modern art to make you feel fancy. In Serbia, you get 2 waterfront villas for the price of 1. And in Greece, you basically get a spot on Mount Olympus. But in South Africa, you'd feel like an actual god. The average house price there is equivalent to $50,000, so you could buy an entire street. Instead of buying a vacation apartment in Spain, you could buy vacation neighborhoods in poorer countries. You could make your own ski run in Nepal, or make a slip and slide down the entire street in Mexico. But in the US, slip and slides aren't really a flex. Cars are. And since you have multiple garages, you need to fill them up with the best whips you can find. But you're not looking at supercars anymore. Supercars are meant for wannabe rich people. You deadass live in a hill looking down on all the poors, so you need a hypercar. But you can't go for something basic like a 2009 $1.9 million Bugatti or a $3 million Aston Martin Valkyrie. You gotta go all out and drop $4.5 million on a Lamborghini Veneno. They're owned by people like Scott Mitchell and Chris Singh. Yeah, I don't know who they are either. But when you're so loaded people don't even know you, you're almost at Illuminati levels. The stuff you wear would look cheap to the average person, but in reality you're wearing a $1,000 plain white Zenga t-shirt. Your suits are worth $50,000, your watch is an Audemars Piguet, and any jewelry is made of at least 4-carat diamonds. And you have to dress like this to fit in with your friends, because their social circle doesn't have anyone below a 10 mil net worth, and they have connections to everyone in the city. So when you go out, you're not getting bottle service, you're getting VIP service. Every restaurant, bar, and club in the city knows your name, and they probably have a private room set up for you already, so you don't have to deal with the generic public. You're getting $10,000 bottles of wine every Saturday, and it's not even making a dent in your bank account. But going out to bars isn't even that fun anymore. So you host parties at your mansion in the hills, or party on your buddy's yacht. But that yacht can only hold like 10 people, and the ultra rich need yachts that can hold hundreds. And at $100 million a year, you're definitely ultra rich. Because the super yachts you could get are so big, they can't even be held at a dock. They literally have to be anchored in the ocean. And the only way you can get there is by taking a smaller yacht out to them. Your yacht might come with a rock climbing wall like Tom Cruise's. Or maybe you got a pool, DJ booth, and bar for parties like Michael Jordan's ship. Or maybe you just absolutely sent it and got a cruise ship ass super yacht, like the Sultan of Oman. Bro, that shit is like a floating city. Honestly, you can get any yacht you want, because at $100 million a year, you're at the top 0.0001%. Now you're so big, people don't just hate you, they're hunting you down. But you could just get a private army, like Zuck's Praetorian Guard, or David Beckham's private soldiers. On the bright side, you can't really get canceled, since you probably have friends inside the media. Actually, you have friends inside every business, so you can pretty much do anything you want and go anywhere you want. Your vacations aren't just the best island hotels, they're to your own private island. There's a mansion just for you and your friends there, plus private ATV trails, zip lines, and maybe even a water park. You could choose to take your yacht to your island, or your helicopter, or your first ever private jet. It's got a flat screen TV, an office, a bedroom, dining tables, expensive champagne, and Michelin star food on board just for you. No more chartering flights for the weekend. Now you just pick a place and go, and it only costs you $40 million. And that's nothing for you, because at this level of wealth, you're not even concerned about buying a new plane or car, you're collecting them. Hypercars are cool, but you could buy all of them at any time. So you've taken up the ultimate rich dad hobby and started collecting ultra rare vintage cars, but you don't just store them at your house anymore. You have a GTA 5 garage, where you have floors of cars, and maybe even bikes if that's your thing. You're about to have a bigger garage than John Shirley's mini dealership. There's absolutely no limits now. So you can get the most expensive car in the world, the Rolls-Royce Droptail. This thing has no business being 30 mil, but it doesn't matter when 30 mil is like 30 cents to you. And once you're done with your showroom, you can start making your private airport like John Travolta. Yeah, that's real. He deadass has a private jet and private terminal at his house. This shit looks more like a COD map than a home, but you can get the same crib, if not something bigger. You could get a fully AI smart home with an indoor gym, spa, and pool, or even a private cigar lounge. You're gonna be feeling like Tony Soprano getting plastered in your own speakeasy. At this point, buying a mansion in another country isn't that exciting. You could buy a city in South Africa, an entire apartment complex in Mexico, a country club in Australia, or a small island, in addition to your actual island in the Maldives. But you still need one main house to live in. So you buy a 700-year-old castle estate. It comes with its own coffee shop, tea room, hotel, and even a gift shop. You'd be feeling like a legit king living here. It even has a forest, lake, park, cricket grounds, parking lot, and 1,800 acres for you to hunt on. This place literally has everything. But there's one thing I know that this place doesn't have. The craziest feature I've ever seen in a house: the private nightclub. Of course, it's only found inside a mansion literally called The One. But The One doesn't just have an indoor nightclub. It's also got a second one outdoors. Both even come with their own VIP lounge. Who the fuck needs a VIP room at their own house? But this whole place is absolutely psychotic. It's got a 30-car garage, 4 swimming pools, a waterfall, movie theater, bowling alley, salon, spa, steam room, jacuzzi, and gym. And if that still isn't enough for one person, the master bedroom comes with an office, pool, and kitchen. You deadass will be living in a house inside a palace on top of Bel Air, and for a small $126 million. This 21-bed, 49-bath place could be yours. It straight up got more bedrooms than most people have friends. But you have no problem making friends, because you look and feel amazing 24/7. At this point, you're not really concerned with how much you spend on clothes. You only care about looking good. Everything you wear is at the highest end of luxury imaginable. Your watch is a $1 million 18-karat Audemars Piguet Royal Oak Offshore. You're wearing the same $10,000 suits as Donald Glover. And your cologne is Golden Delicious by DKNY, which is worth $200 grand for just 5 milliliters. The craziest part is, you're not buying any of this from a store. Companies and designers worldwide know your name, height, weight, and even the size of your clothes. If anything, they're paying you to use their products. And since your style is better than Patrick Bateman's, you gotta make sure your body is too. You're not paying for Equinox anymore because you have your own home gym and spa. You probably have a doctor who's on call at any time of the year, an in-house physical trainer, and you can afford all the plastic surgery in the world. You're definitely doing cold plunges like Joe Rogan, and maybe even light therapy like Bella Hadid. And even if you didn't win the genetic lottery, you're probably on an anti-aging regimen like Brian Johnson. But at 100 mil a year, you literally outlive the working class by 15 years. Plus you got bodyguards, so even if someone wants you to die, you won't. Being rich is literally a superpower. And with how perfect you look, your wife or husband is also going to be perfect. You can marry literal princes and princesses if you wanted to. You could have as many kids as you want, send them all to private school, give them their own mansions and supercars, and be completely okay financially. Because with a private island, castle, airport, showroom, and cruise ship, You have enough assets to literally never go broke. And you never have to worry about any of that because you have an entire team of people managing your assets for you. So why stop spending there? Because you could pay people to take you to space for just $55 million. Elon will shoot you up to the space station to experience the most insane part of being rich. Existential dread, because you realize that we're all living on a floating rock, your money doesn't matter, and we'll all die someday. But once you hit billionaire status, you don't care about any of that anymore. Because if you get to Elon Musk level, you aren't just living in the world, you're controlling it. You have so much money that buying private jets, cars, and super yachts doesn't even make a dent in your wallet. Buying a company as a billionaire is equivalent to buying a couch at $50K. That $126 million house is suddenly only 10% of your net worth. You could buy the whole street and even have money left over. Zuckerberg literally did that, just so he could have privacy. And Elon has a compound in Texas for all of his wives and kids to live at. You could literally do anything you want as a billionaire. Ambani literally bought an entire skyscraper to live in, just because he can. You want to buy a private island? Why not buy a small country? You're worth more than the bottom 25 already. And in the social circle you're in, if you pull your friends' money together, you could legit solve world hunger. But what you and your friends actually do is secret, extremely secret. Because the clubs you go to aren't dance clubs or bars. You go to exclusive retreats in the forest, and in other countries, to discuss what you and your friends should do about the state of the world. You might go to the World Economic Forum and meet with world leaders, or go to Bohemian Grove for a retreat from the world, and pray to an owl god so that your company does well. Yeah, they actually do that. Weird shit, man. But maybe the weirdest thing about being a billionaire is that you kind of start living a normal life again, because you have zero fucks left to give. You probably show up to your work in a beer-stained t-shirt with a 5 o'clock shadow. You cook your own meals and work out every day, because you want to do things on your own. You might even homeschool your kids like Mark Andreessen. I mean, obviously your life isn't that normal. You splurge on a $100 million private jet, but not on new shoes every year. You get driven to work and have more bodyguards than the president. You like to feel like an average Joe again, because you're not trying to get to the top anymore. You're already there. The only thing you really do is try to stay rich. But even if your company collapsed tomorrow, you'd still have enough money to fund your family for 10 generations. So you don't buy anything that wouldn't directly help your family or net worth. And buying anything that's not a business is kind of pointless now, because you don't trade in dollars anymore. You're trading in power. You can get politicians and world leaders to do anything for you, since they're funded by organizations and companies that you own. You could be one of the good guys like Bill Gates, and give all your money to charity, or keep it to yourself like Mark Cuban. But you're already here, so why not shoot for the moon? You can get politicians to make sure you're never taxed in exchange for influence in the media or their campaigns. You can own companies that control entire industries. And if all that is still too boring for you, you resort to playing pro gamers to boost your Diablo account, so you can lie to frat bros online about how raw you are at killing demons in a virtual world. But that's not even the craziest thing Elon's done. After Elon renamed Twitter to X, he became the richest man in the world. Like, if you try to count this guy's net worth and you started 6,000 years ago, you wouldn't even be halfway done by today. And Elon's net worth alone makes up 1% of the entire world's economy. So it's no surprise that he's helping control the most powerful country in the world. Bro is the final boss of billionaires. Because at $1 billion a year, there's really nothing you can't do. Well, except have social skills, but that's not a bad trade-off.